this job is teamwork. You can't be a foster carer and be left on a limb on your own, because you have to work in partnership with everybody else.
I'm a social worker in a safeguarding team, so I work with children from 20 weeks gestation right the way up to 18 years. My role is to safeguard and protect children, which is different to the fostering team's role. They're there to support the foster carer, where my role is there for the child. A lot of the foster carers I work with, I've developed really positive working relationships. I can quite happily go there for a cup of tea, and that's really good because I can see the children quite relaxed and I can just observe them within the home.
As supervising social worker, you're working with the foster parents and their family primarily. We don't really get involved with birth families to any great extent. Our role is really to help the carers understand the child's history.
Social workers so far, I've had an excellent relationship with them.
It's been quite good because they're quite open with us, aren't they?
Open, yeah.
Very, very open, and I think that just makes life so much easier. So if we raise a concern and we say, look, we feel that the child needs to be sorted by X, Y and Z, it's normally there. They've normally said, no problem. The support is really good, really good.
I think the support is good that when you're all working on the same team or going in the same direction, so it works that way.
It's not just your supervising social worker. You need to work with the social worker for the child. You need to work with maybe a legal guardian for the child. You could be working with their solicitors. You've got the school that's involved. You may have CAMS involved. I mean, there's a lot of professionals out there that are attached to one child. So you need to liaise with everybody. You need to make sure that you are advocating for your child in the best possible way for what is best for them.
And everybody's there for the same thing, wanting the best for the child. So you have to do your form, fill in your form, say what you want and say what works, what doesn't work, and be able to voice all that at all these meetings. Phone schools for things that are not working properly. I've worked with health professionals. I had a baby with brittle bone disease, so I was very much involved with health professionals for her.
I think it's important that everybody works together, and I think as a foster carer, you are the core of that child's life when they're living with you. So I make sure the relationship works, because if it doesn't work, you're maybe not getting the right information and the information when you need it.
You yourself are the chief advocate for that child, and to make sure that all those services that are there in potentia, whether they be educational services, health services, sometimes psychological services or general welfare services, that they're all accessible to that child, and that child perhaps make sure that his or her rights are exercised.
Well, and I know my mum has to go to a lot of meetings, so it does take up quite a lot of time. She has to phone people, and people are always on the phone, and I think that needs to be happening because she needs to know what's happening. Then social worker will come over and talk about a child that might be coming, or just to have a supervision to check what's happening and that.
I think that's where the social pedagogy approach has really helped. I think it's a huge tool for foster carers to use. With us, I think very much it's a reflective tool, and you can be with all professionals and use it in the fact that, okay, that's what you think should happen. Okay, that's great, and I think this should happen because of that. Let's all talk, let's come to the same decision because we're all here for the child.
You know, for me at the moment, I have a supervising social worker who's very supportive of my emotional needs, and I talk things through and we can bounce ideas and we can be very open and frank with each other, and that's really, really important. And we can challenge each other, and that's important because, especially as a single carer, I need quite a lot of that.
There may be a behavioural issue that's arisen with the child, or something has happened in contact that the carer needs your advice and guidance with. So you're basically on the end of that phone talking to people day by day, addressing issues and problems that they might have as they come.
Most birth families do have contact, and depending upon how a child is placed for how long, or, you know, if it's a baby or whatever, that will determine the time contact, the length of contact and how much contact you have.
Some families, the contact is very positive and very good.
Yeah.
The positive contact can be quite negative sometimes, and it can have a huge impact on the child.
It's quite different, I guess, for the children that we've got at the moment, because they have
separate contacts that are for different members of the family. There have been some tricky periods with it, but where we've got to now is that we always have a contact supervisor, and they come and collect. And in fact, we've got there's a contact supervisor at the moment who's actually looking out for the girls' contacts and is specifically trying to do those. So that's great because it's the same person each time. And because of the dynamics with sibling groups, it's actually, she knows enough to know how to step in that situation and actually help the girls to have a better contact. When they come back, that's sometimes
That's a
hard thing, because it's normally quite a sad time because they've had to say goodbye. As time goes on, it gets a little bit better because they're obviously getting used to it. So it's kind of reassuring them that that it's going to be all right.
You're going to see your mum next week.
You're going to see her next week.
Too many people disappear from these children's lives, and actually they need the continuity of seeing their parents. And as a foster carer, the best thing I found to do, is to make it a happy time, to make sure the child is wearing the sort of clothes that mum wants. Maybe mum's bought the child clothes. Make sure the child's wearing them.
And I think it's actually a good idea if you have a rapport with the parents, that they see who you are and that the kids are with you, and actually you're not a bad guy.
I've never had a bad experience working with the parents that we've worked with. Not all the time it's going to work out, but for us, we're just touch wood. We're quite lucky that the parents that we've had to be dealt with over the years.
Because parent contact is very, very important to the children. So you have to be prepared to work with the parents, and to understand it from their perspective as well. But the working with them is really important for the children's sake, because they like you say, they see that you're all trying to work to the common good.
Whatever people think about contact, and however hard it is, I think you can make a real difference by smiling at those parents, by saying nice things, by, going a little bit above and beyond. I did a little photo album, for example, of my little boy, and every so often, every few months, we'd just give a few extra photos to his mum of him doing things here. And she really appreciated that, and she felt included. At the end of the day, these are these children's parents, and they love them, regardless of what's happened. And regardless of our personal views about it, they will love those parents probably for the rest of their life. And they want to know that the people working with them get that.